So before we get into the actual video, I just wanted to post kind of an update as far as my Ohio unemployment situation was going. About 3 weeks ago, when everything was just starting to get hectic and crazy, I had filed that Sunday night. The following Monday was when things started to hit the fan with Ohio unemployment, and in general, not just with me, but in general. It hadn't posted to my card yet, so I kind of freaked out a little bit. Asked some questions to some other people on social media, and they said they had better luck going through it on a computer instead of their phone. So I then tried it on my computer, and I had totally forgot my login information. Knew what one of them was, but had totally forgot what the password was. So I entered what I thought it was a few different times, and it froze my account. And then it has been an absolute train wreck trying to get through to anybody. They put you on hold on the phone, and then it just hangs up after about 10 minutes. Doesn't matter what number you call. I called everybody. I sent emails to everybody. And finally, day before yesterday, I got up with just the absolute certainty that I was not going to leave the computer until I was able to get a hold of somebody and fix it, because it's coming up on the weekend. Sundays is when I file, Sunday morning. So I didn't want to miss another week. I'd already missed 1 week of it. Was worried how that was going to play out. So I just stayed on it. At 8 o'clock in the morning, when the chat window kicked open on the website, I clicked that thing probably 600 times until it came through. And I finally got into the queue to talk to a representative. She was absolutely the most friendliest person I've ever talked to. So keep this in mind. These people that you talk to on the phone, these people that you interact with on the computer for the jobs, for the website, and for the call centers, it's not their fault. They're doing their absolute best that they can possibly do. And my whole interaction with Charlene at unemployment, if somehow she sees this, it was absolutely amazing. She was the most kind-heartedest person. I think it would have lasted a lot less had I not told her thank you 1,000 different times. Another customer service a while back told me that 95% of the people that work at the unemployment office have been on Ohio unemployment before, so they understand the struggle behind it. They understand exactly what each and every one of us that are on assistance is going through. So keep that in mind when you talk to them. You don't have to be ignorant. You don't have to be rude. They understand the situation that you're in, because if they were doing anything else, they probably would be in the same spot. So if they're thankful that they have their jobs, you should be thankful that there's somebody there that understands your situation. I never had it in my mind to be rude to them, but I didn't think that I would be able to get through to them, even though I'd already been on unemployment, because there's such an influx of people that are now facing unemployment. So understand that when you do get through, and you will, you have to be diligent in it. You have to stick with it. As much as it sucks, you have to devote time to that. And for the single parents that are out there that have kids to watch, I get it. I do. I totally understand where you're saying that I just don't have the time. I can't believe it's this screwed up. He said today that they put over 300 new employees that work there, and by the end of next week, they're hoping to have 1,000 total. That's a lot. That's a lot of people working in unemployment to get it pushed through. But understand that if you keep trying and you stay at it, the chances of you getting through are there. You just have to be willing to do that. So find the oldest kid and tell them to keep the younger ones, in check, or bring the younger kids with you. Just make sure you pay attention to what's going on and you stay with it, because it can work. You just have to work it. So, to the video. 2905 is where we're at. As far as infected cases, we got 81 people that have perished. Just got done watching Governor DeWine's press conference. They went ahead and extended the shelter-in-place order until May 1st, which means that there's going to be 3 more weeks of staying inside as much as possible. The shitty part about that is that right now the temperature is 65. We've got a little bit of a wind, so it's a little breezy. I have some home projects that I'm going to try to do. I've got a coffee table centerpiece that I'm going to try to put together.
So I'm going to head down to the state park real quick and see if I can't find some driftwood that was washed up in the lake. Only because it's 65 and sunny outside, and I've been sitting inside for the last 3 days. Had some more people come back to the island that's kind of pushed things up into a tizzy on the old social media platforms. Give you a little piece of advice. If you're coming back to the island, or if you're coming back to your home from your winter home, anywhere in the United States, one, it's great to have you back. I'm friends with a lot of these people that are coming back, but I can tell you this much. If you feel the need to take a picture of different places that you stop, do yourself a favor to avoid all of the craziness and BS that happens from people that don't travel. Don't post that crap on social media, because people see that and then they see you, and then the next thing you know, everybody is in a tizzy. So we've had some people come back that have been traveling back to their summer homes here, traveling through some airports. They took some pictures, they posted on social media. Nobody really said anything at that point, because that's what people do. And then when they got back here, they of course decided to stroll around town to visit some of the shops that were open, and that pissed a lot of people off, which it should. It's something that we take pretty seriously up here, is the whole quarantining deal that people have to go through. And only because our mayor put out a press release today that said, we have one gas station, we have one post office, we have one hardware store, and we have one grocery store and one beverage center. Now, what you don't understand if you've never been here, and I'm touching my face all over the place, but I haven't left the island in 8 months, and the people that I have had to surround myself with are healthy people. So, but with that being said, all these places are pretty close to one another. It's not one Walmart, it's not one Gas and Go, it's not one Home Depot, it's not one multi-county post office. We have a post office that serves probably 400 people. We have a hardware store that's got just enough stuff to get you into trouble. We've got a gas station that is smaller than any gas station you've probably ever seen. And our grocery store has about 6 aisles with just about enough stuff to make you hungry after you buy stuff. So with that being said, everything is small. It's a close-knit community. It's small in numbers and small in size. So we just worry about people that are coming back up here, either one, to check on their cabins, or two, to open up their cabins and get ready for summer. Because as right now, this thing's going to just sit right on top of us until probably May. They're talking about it peaking in May, the end of April, beginning of May. The only problem with that is that if it peaks, it's still got a downslope that it has to go down, which means that it's going to be a long time before this thing's nipped in the bud. We're just going to see the peak. We're going to see the highest totals possible. What they're saying is, anywhere between April 20th and May 15th. So it's not over by a long shot. Like, it's not anywhere close to being over. And that's the unfortunate and scary side of it, is that there's still a lot more to go to it. We've had a 25% increase in the deaths overnight. So you got to look at all that stuff and put all that stuff into consideration, because if you don't, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're shooting your neighbor in the foot, and you got to start looking at more than just past the tip of your nose. So I'm going to shoot some video out here on the lakefront real quick, and then probably go from there. All right, so my search for the driftwood was actually considerably shorter than what I thought it was going to be, which is great. I actually found a really cool looking piece that I'll take a picture of and put on the page later on. But my dad bought me a cap and ball pistol back when I was about 16, and I used it one year for deer hunting, and then shot it a couple more times. And if you know anything about guns or anything like that, black powder it's really fun to shoot. It kind of makes you feel like David Crockett all the time. But loading and caring for them is a huge deal. And with a cap and ball pistol, it takes 20-30 minutes or so, just to load it if you're fast with it. And even if you're really good with what you're doing, you still get those misfires, and then you don't know if you've got like a hand grenade with 5 extra shots sitting in your hand or not. So I like I said, I used it 1 year as a backup to my rifle that I had, and then it just kind of sat in the gun cabinet. And right before he passed, I got it back and just kind of carried it with me throughout life. Didn't really do anything too much with it, just kind of kept it in the gun bag. And then after he passed, I got it out and started cleaning it up, and it's actually, I brought it back around to where it looks like it did when it was new. Don't really plan on shooting it that much. If I get a chance to shoot it, I may gather up enough supplies, lead balls and patches and boar butter and black powder and stuff like that. But for right now, I'm just more or less want it as a display piece. So I was able to go down today, like I was trying to do, and find a couple pieces of driftwood that I'm gonna use as a display piece for it, and put it up. But kind of makes you chuckle. When I was a kid, about 12, 13, no, I was a little bit older than that, probably about 14, 15. My dad always had a flair for buying nice things. He didn't ever live outside of his means with anything, but he also had the philosophy that if you wanted something, you might as well buy the best that you can buy, because there's no sense in buying cheap and then complaining about it later on. So growing up, we always had, pretty decent stuff. Getting into my teen years, my dad had bought some fly rods. We were just getting back into fly fishing, and I had saved up and bought a pretty decent rod, but it wasn't anything like what he had. And when we moved out to the country, out in Missouri a little bit more, we actually had some property that he was able to build and stock a pond on. And I remember one day, the whole story, the story's on my Facebook page, but I asked him if I could borrow one of his fishing rods, and of course he loved us enough to let us do whatever we wanted to, with just the general rules of making sure that you put it back when you were done and to take care of it, because if it wasn't yours, then you should respect the person who it belongs to. And I failed that day. Of all days to fail, I failed that day miserably. And I didn't put the fly rod back away. Left it propped up against the side of a tree, and it sat out there for about 6 months. And I totally forgotten about it. He hadn't used it, so he didn't know about it. And he went out there to cut the grass one day, and just by pure happenstance, it had fallen down, so you couldn't even see it from the house, because there was a tree that was right by it, right by the pond, and it was leaning up against that tree. Well, it had fallen off that tree into the grass. He didn't hit it with the lawnmower, because as he was driving down to cut the backside of the pond, he saw the reel. And he picked that thing up and just absolutely had one of the biggest come aparts that I can remember him having as a kid. And was absolutely grounded from anything that was his, tools. And I'm 15, I didn't have shit. I just had the stuff that I had been able to save up and buy through summer jobs and whatnot. And I had enough of my own to be able to fish on my own and stuff like that. But I'm talking like tools. I couldn't borrow screwdrivers, I couldn't borrow anything. And if you're a 15-year-old kid, boy, you want to take apart everything. You always think you know more than anybody else, so you always figure you can get inside and outside stuff and figure things out. Well, I couldn't touch anything that was his. And that carried on until I was, probably in my 20s. He wasn't super strict about it, but I always caught that eye. It took a couple years to get over that. So he was out of a fly rod, a pretty expensive fly rod. He was out of it. And his way of recouping that loss was to go out and have one custom made. And by custom made, I mean that it was done with he had done some clippings off of some bird dogs that he had loved and we'd had for a long time before they died, and so he had those pieces of hair incorporated into the fly rod as a memorial to them, because we always had one of them with us whenever we'd go fishing. So it was their way of still being with us. Now, when he passed away, I'd forgotten all about the fly rod stuff. Like, to me, none of that stuff played any kind of role. I was in my late 30s when he passed. But going home from Ohio back to St. Louis for when he was in the hospital, and then eventually for his funeral, all of his stuff that he had and that he accumulated was split between myself and my older brother. And again, even at that point, all this stuff was in the wind. I had forgotten totally about it, 100% about it. You know, and I'd come away from after we buried him, after his funeral, and I had things that I had of my dad's that I remembered. You know, I mean, he had a recurve bow that he bought to go deer hunting with one more time, and of course the pocket knife that he had gotten. I got that stuff, and I got some pictures and different things like that. Just basic little stuff that I wanted, because living where I'm at now, it wasn't a forever home at that point. So I didn't want to accumulate a bunch of stuff. He had some guitars, and he had some clothing and stuff like that. My older brother took all that, and to me that was perfect, because my brother can play the guitar like I've never seen anybody do it. So it only made sense for that stuff to go to him. He had a much better, much stronger relationship with my dad than I did. But I had come back up to Ohio, and he had gone back to Alabama after the funeral, and I was getting ready to go down and see him before the beginning of the season, year before last, and he had said, "Hey, listen, there's some extra stuff that's still at Dad's old place. If you want to swing by and pick it up and bring it down here with you." I said, "Yeah, 100%, sure, dude, no problem." So I stopped at his house, and as I was leaving the garage with some pictures and stuff like that my brother had wanted, there were 2 fly rod cases that were sitting leaning up in the garage. And I'd asked my dad's widow, I said, "Hey, what are your plans with those?" And she goes, "Oh, those are Kenny's. If you want them, take them." I didn't know what they were. I just knew that they were fly rods and they belonged to my dad. Now, 15, almost 20 years had passed since the fly rod being left against the tree. So I had no idea what I had until I got home, or until I got down to Alabama, to where my brother's at. And got down there, got unpacked, and we're sitting around BSing about Dad and different things. And it dawned on me that I had those 2 cases. And I was like, I wonder what those things are. Because they weren't labeled on the cases. You know, so I went over and grabbed the 2 cases, and the first one I opened up, I had an absolute meltdown. The first one that I opened up was the one, the custom-made one that he'd had, that I was told I was to never touch, ever. You know, and I remember seeing the fly rod once, and that was it. I only saw it the one time before I owned it. And it came out of the fly rod rag and then went right back into it after I saw it. Didn't get to hold it, didn't get to touch it, hadn't seen this damn thing in probably 20 years. And then the second one was the one that I had left out by the tree. And it was still just as nasty as it was the day that he found it. He never tried to do anything to it, but he always had that thought process to keep it. You know, now I don't know if he was keeping it because it was a fairly expensive rod before I decided to leave it to Mother Nature to do her will too, but he kept it. And so that was one that like really tore me up opening that one up, because it kind of brought back all those feelings of just being not a letdown to him, but just kind of like, you know, just that whole day. I remember it as clear as a bell now, you know, and everything that happened because of it. And so it was kind of neat to have the one thing that led me to see the damnation of my mid-teens, to put it away, and then to pull the one thing out that I was told to never touch and to never look at. And I did the total opposite of that. I got back up here to Ohio, and I went to Cabela's, and I bought a fly reel for it, and I bought fly line and leader and tippet and just a little bag. I had some cases, some fly cases that he had. Didn't know if there was anything in them. I just picked them up off of his desk in his office and just stuck them in my bag and brought them with me. And when I got back up here to Ohio, I opened them up, and they were full of flies that he'd tied. So I had it in my mind that, one, I would put the fly rod that I had destroyed away. I would never touch it. You know, wouldn't pull it out anyway. Wouldn't try to fish with it. And my thought process was to fish with the one that he told me to never touch, and just to at least catch a fish with it. And then if I caught a fish with it, I would put it back in the case and never open it. So I did that. It took about 2 weeks before I actually caught anything, and I still think that it was probably a drum that I caught, but it was fun. I haven't opened the case up yet. It's sitting in my living room right now. I haven't opened it up since. When I got home that night, I cleaned it and put it away, and bought a travel fly rod so that the reel and all the other stuff that I had bought didn't go to waste. I use it whenever I go to fishing now. But for some reason, that story always stuck with me. I can remember everything about him, and his thought process behind caring for the things that you have, because not everybody's that fortunate, and if it's not yours, to respect it. So I plan on taking this piece of driftwood that I found here. I asked some questions from some people that I'm sorry for pausing there, but I asked, my friends, hey, do you know anything about driftwood? Do I need to do anything to it to make sure that it's okay to put in my house? Like, I don't have to polyurethane it or anything. And I'm like, no, man, you're cool. Just do whatever you want to do with it, and you'll be all right. I just looked over here at it and picked it up, talking about it, and 3 goddamn spiders just fell out of it. So, yeah, I got that shit to deal with. So, but it's such a cool piece that, whatever it takes, if I got to spray it down with Raid or whatever the hell it is to get them off there and out of there, I'll do that. But that's my process for today. That's probably going to be my night adventure is fixing this display piece for my old man. But, so, there's that. Stay safe. Don't let anybody cough in your throat. We're not even close to being done with this whole mess, so be vigilant, be safe. Look after the people that you need to look after. So, April 2nd, 2,905 sick, 81 deaths.